But speaking of the NFL, let's go to Cincinnati where, yeah, Joe Burrow's healthy, and that's great, and you put them in contention just because he's there, but he needs his weapons, and one of them, neither of them is that happy. I mean, T. Higgins got franchised. He wanted out, but that's not going to happen. He's going to have to play on the franchise tag. And Jamar Chase, the reports now, Martin, are that and for those that don't know, most know, but he is basically holding in. He was a hold in most of training camp, so he wouldn't get fined. He's at practice, but not practicing. He did go through one practice. Zach Taylor thought it was all good, the head coach, and said so. And then Jamar just didn't practice the next few times. And so now we don't know what's going on. What we do know, according to reports, is that Jamar wants reportedly, at least $1 more or 1 cent more than Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson at $35 million a year is the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. And Jamar Chase wants 1 cent more than Justin Jefferson, at least. That's according to Ian Rappaport. And then there was a report last week by Richard Skinner, who's there in Cincinnati as a reporter. He says Chase wants $160 million. And that would be if he wants to surpass Justin Jefferson, that would be 4 years, $160 million, $40 million a year. So what do you make of this situation with Chase? And do you think this could or will derail the Cincinnati Bengals' attempt to get a Super Bowl?
I'll say it could derail the Cincinnati Bengals' attempt to be a dynasty. I don't think it'll impact this year, right? I think this year, because Jamar Chase, again, he's still going into year 4 of his rookie deal. It's not like a situation where he's like Ayuk or CeeDee Lamb, where we're going into the 5th-year option, legitimately 1 year left on the contract. Like, we got to figure something out now. Because, I mean, really, you could take the 5th-year option, then you could franchise him, you could franchise him again. So, really, we're talking about years left on the contract. It's just a question of how much is the team you're trying to pay up front as opposed to paying down the line. That's why I say it's concerning for Cincinnati attempt to try to be a quote-unquote dynasty, right? Because Jamar Chase this year is just kind of – I told you on Wednesday. I would tell every wide receiver that I had that was close to that mark of, you could reset the market, I'm not coming to training camp for year 4. I'm just not going to do it. Because if you really believe in me, you'll extend me. You'll extend me now, and then I'll be there, right? And it didn't end up happening.
So what do you think Chase should do if they don't? Because Mike Brown, you can call him cheap. You can call him, a guy that stands on whatever his principles are, but he's not known to budge a lot.
Right.
So let's say that, and I think it's very possible, if not even likely, that Jamar Chase doesn't get a contract this year.
Then if they're not going to give Jamar Chase a contract this year, then they should trade him. They should put Jamar Chase on the market and get something.
Why?
Because because here's the thing. You could get him now for what? You said a cent more than Justin Jefferson.
You would get him cheaper now than next year. That's for sure.
Exactly. You get him now. They're $35 million a year average annual value, but you spread it out over the entirety of the deal that he already had. So if you sign a 4-year extension, it's really a 6-year contract because it'd be next year, year after that, then the 4 years on top of that. So you can spread that number out. Or you could do what the Dallas Cowboys are doing right now with CeeDee Lamb and eventually Dak Prescott if they ever get that deal done.
But I'm
saying,
just
pay that much more for him.
I'm saying Cincinnati has the leverage. If Jamar Chase doesn't play, he doesn't get paid. He doesn't accrue another year toward free agency. Now, if he wants to fake an injury, I guess he could do that. But, and I'm not saying they shouldn't pay him. I'm just, for the sake of discussion,
right?
Why I wouldn't trade him.
If I'm Cincinnati,
I'm expecting him to play. Like, dude, look, you're under contract. I'm expecting you to play. You look at Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk, and all these guys who have played 4 years All right, Chase has only played 3. So, and I don't, Cincinnati, again, they're cheap at times, but, they could say, look, we'll take care of you after the 4th year. We're not going to do it now.
But I think you got two things at play there. One, Jamar Chase's agent is like, hell no, you won't. I see what you just did to T. Higgins. I see where the market's going. Take care of me now. And then secondly, we say that Cincinnati is cheap. Well, historically, but they did just sign Joe Burrow to a record-breaking contract.
It's a quarterback.
Right. And when you look at the other scenarios that we're talking about, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, you know what those two guys have in common right now? Quarterbacks on rookie deals at the time that deal was signed. Joe Burrow is not there. Joe Burrow is making big-time money right now. So if this is an organization that if you're not going to extend him now, then to me it just becomes more and more bad business to continue to not to extend him. So if you're not going to do it, you might as well try to recoup.
Well, you're assuming they're not going to do it, and that's a decent assumption considering their history. But I'm just saying, I don't get, if you're not going to pay him this year, trade him. Why in the world would I trade him? He's a great receiver.
Because it comes down to, I agree. There's no doubt about him being a great receiver. I'm not trying to push that back at all. I think he's the top 3 guy in the league.
I'm just saying, I don't like. It's the same thing. And the Niners obviously ended up paying Brandon Ayuk, but they clearly got to a point where when they came out this week and they were like, he's healthy, he's been cleared to play, he can play. Like, they weren't trading him, and they did talk with teams obviously, and he turned down some of those trades, but they ultimately realized, look, he's going to play, and he's going to play here. And I'm just saying that if I'm the Bengals, I'm not even, and I don't think they'll even think about trading Jamar Chase. They've had several players, including T. Higgins, say they want out and who end up playing.
I look at,
so you just don't have any leverage. I guess, like I said, if he wants to fake an injury, but hopefully he wouldn't do that.
From the Bengals side of things, Chris, from Jamar Chase's side, I think he will play, and I think eventually he will be reset the wide receiver market, whether or not it's in Cincinnati or not. So I don't think he will play.
Unless they look, are the Bengals so cheap that if they were to win the Super Bowl this year, they just coast on that and say, okay, we're not paying Jamar, we're paying Burrow, and that's it. And maybe they fall back to the bottom. Maybe because, their history is that they are cheap. But I'm just saying, I don't think Jamar has the leverage to the point where they have to trade him.
Well, he doesn't, but it's not about, even to me, like Jamar saying that, like, that leverage. The idea that it's just bad business, Chris. Like, if you're not going to.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. But he's only played 3 years.
But the other thing is,
he can play 4 and then they pay him after that.
If you're going to pay Joe Burrow at the rate that you're paying, at top 3 average annual value in quarterbacks at the time the deal was signed, number 1 at the time the deal was signed, you're almost essentially. It's 2 ways to look at it. You could do the Cowboys thing, which is what they're doing right now, or you could do what the Chiefs did with Tyreek Hill. Move on from him, save that cap space, and rebuild your team around your quarterback. Not saying that, obviously, Jamar Chase, better for your offense. Tyreek Hill, better for your offense. But you take a step back on necessarily the flamboyant or flashy side of what you could do offensively to rebuild some of those roster spots with rookies or lower-paid players so you can be able to afford other things.
But again, CD Lamb has played 4 years. I'm sure Cincinnati is like, these guys have all gotten paid after 4 years, Jamar, not 3. If Jamar wants to be the top paid receiver in the league, he will be. If they give him a deal this year, maybe he'll pass Justin. If they give him a deal next year, he'll definitely pass Justin. So I'm just saying, I agree with you in that it could be viewed as bad business and all that. I just don't agree when you say if they're not going to pay him now, then trade him. I don't think their backs are against the wall like that where they have to move him.
Well, 360 days from now, I feel like we're going to be having the same conversation. What should the number be for Jamar Chase? And there will be a group of people saying, if you didn't want to pay him the $36 million that is going to cost per year to keep him, then you should have done something else with him. Like just holding on to just for the sake of holding on, knowing that you're going to end up losing him for nothing. Like that's
they don't know that. They might be willing to pay him next year. They might just be like, look, you're going to play 4 years at least before we extend your contract. Now, I agree with you.
I'd rather do it now and get it cheaper.
Yeah, you could do it now and it'll be cheaper long term. I agree with that. I'm like I said, the only thing I disagree with you on is if they're not going to pay him this year, they should trade him. That's all I'm saying. There's no reason to trade him. I think he's going to play. He basically has to play. And he's trying to make a statement, and I get it, and maybe he'll get his money. Hopefully he gets his money. I don't have any problem with him getting his money. But I'm just saying, if I'm Cincinnati, under no circumstances am I trading him this year. Look, their chances are too good to do something special, and he is necessary for them to do something special.
Look, if you got a Lamborghini and you can't afford the insurance and the note, you should sell it before they come and repo it.
It's not about them not being able to afford it.
Well, if you don't want to pay it, however it boils down.
They might want to pay next year. That's all I'm saying. I hear you. Even if they're not going to pay him next year, real talk, then I still want him for this year. I need him for this year. I'm going all in this year to win the Super Bowl, and Jamar's a key piece. I'm not trading him. Even if their plan is, you know what, we're not going to be able to pay him long term.
Yeah.
Still, I got him now. It's called a contract.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't pay him either, but I wouldn't trade him either. But also, he would have been in camp with me all summer because we would have got this deal done. Like I would have got this deal. I got a top 3 guy at the position. I'm gonna go ahead and lock him in like that. That's how you win. Is you win paying a top 3 guy like he's a 1 guy. You pay a top 7, top 8 guy like he's a top 1 guy. Then you can get in some trouble.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways to win. Tyreek Hill, like you said, they traded him, and they just got Patrick Mahomes, who's on the level by himself. But